Good evening.
Good evening,
Everyone. How's
Professor.
everybody doing? Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Were you having microphone issues as well, Professor?
Hold on 1 second. My volume is low. Can you all hear me?
Yes. Were you having microphone issues as well, Professor?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Mine was a speaker issue, but I think I'm gonna. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. Can you all hear me?
Yes. Were you having
Yes,
microphone
ma'am.
issues as well, Professor?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Mine was a speaker issue, but I think I'm gonna.
What in the world?
I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. Can you all hear me?
Uh-oh. Professor?
Hold on, speaker.
What in the world?
I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. Can you all hear me? Mhm.
How about now? Professor, is everything okay or do we have technical issues?
No, everything is fine. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Everything is fine.
Okay.
Thank you all for your patience.
Yep. Thank you for yours.
Okay, so um we're gradually wrapping things up. Module 10. We only have about 15 modules. So this is module 10. This week we will cover module 10, 11, and 12. And then next week we will cover 13, 14, and 15, and we will wrap it up. So you guys have been keeping up with the pace, and that is quite encouraging and interesting. It's like drinking from a fire hose this 1 month class, and I totally get it. But hey, everyone is catching up, and I just want to encourage us to finish strong. Um, Today we are covering wireless network attacks and defenses. Last week we talked a lot about infrastructure. And part of the infrastructure is our wireless connectivity or our wireless connection. So today we'll dive into wireless connection. What does that entail? And how easy or difficult is it for attackers to actually penetrate the wireless network? Okay.
Were
Well,
you were
do
you
you
asking a
guys have
question?
say that again?
Were you asking the question, Professor?
No, no, no.
Okay.
I was stating what we will be covering. And
Okay.
I was just saying we will cover how difficult or easy it is for wireless network to be penetrated.
Okay.
Um, Before we get started, what are your questions? What questions do you guys have that I might be able to help you answer or that you would like me to help you answer before we continue today? Okay. Sounds like there is none. Okay. There is one very important tool that I want us to be familiar with, because last week we talked about infrastructure security, and this tool is one that is really very important. So sorry, give me one moment. I'll give you. It's one tool that that is a lot of organizations use to see whether their any of their devices are accessible, or any part of their infrastructure that needs to be internal is exposed to the internet. Give me a second. Please give me a moment. Okay, thanks for your patience. So this tool is one that a lot of organizations use to check if there are internal networks. Remember, during the last class, we said there's the internal network and there is a public-facing network. The public-facing network is the internet. And then any infrastructure that the organization wants to expose to the internet. For example, their email servers, their DNS server, their web services. They want to expose it to the internet. Those kinds of services are in the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, right? But if for some reason whatsoever, what needed to be internal, say the application server or their database that needs to be internal, or any device at all that needed to be internal, is exposed to the internet. And even within the cloud environment, S3 bucket is used for storage, right? If for any reason whatsoever, S3 is exposed to the internet, right? It is a big issue. So this Shodan is one tool that is often used by many organizations to determine or to check if their internal devices or any devices that needs to be internal to the network is exposed to the internet. So I would love for each one of you to log into Shodan, go to shodan.io. How many of you guys have heard about Shodan before now or used Shodan? Have you heard of Shodan or used Shodan? Okay. So I'd like for you to go to shodan.io. I'll put the link in the chat. They have the free version and then they have the fully paid version. Excuse me. You go here, you see the pricing. A lot of enterprise organizations use them to determine whether their devices are exposed to the internet. So let's do a quick check right now. Are you logged into Shodan now? Right.
Because
So
I'm not, my laptop is still doing updates, so I'm on my phone
okay.
participating in class.
Okay, I'm sure Shodan should work on your phone. It's a web service, so
Okay.
it should work on your phone.
All right. Let me see.
Just open your browser, right?
Okay. Yep. I didn't want to lose you, so I see that I can do it.
Yes, you
So
can.
then, okay.
So one of the things that you want organizations might want to find out is to identify any publicly exposed web services. A lot of web servers that are used, as things such as Apache web server. And so you see right here, in the United States, over 4 million Apache web services are publicly available, right? One of the things that this is okay. I mean, it's okay because these are web servers and they needed to be accessible via the web, right? However, if you search for something such as port 80, okay? I want you guys to, if you search for something such as port 80, say port 80. I'll put it in the chat as well. So search for port 80. And you see devices that have port 80 open. What holds this signal to you? What holds this signal to you? What does when they say, hey, a device has port 80 open, what does this signal to you? And is there a security risk?
Yeah, 100,525 total results. In the United States, there's 30,112 of them. So I would
which
say,
one, James?
I would say port 80 is a high security risk.
Okay, why?
With that many users, you run a risk of, being vulnerable, especially with the sophistication and being hacked. and the different devices that they use in software, port 80 is so common that we run a risk of being, on the hit list.
What do you mean by, I want you to tell us the vulnerability, the specific vulnerability with port 80.
So port 80 being the port that we use for internet access
Mm-hmm.
is so vulnerable because it seems like that's the most common usage of accessing the internet through that port.
So why is it vulnerable?
It's so
Anybody?
common. Yeah, it's too many users.
No, it's not because there's too many users. It was meant to have too many users. Anyone else want to try in the class and tell us why port 80 is a security risk? Who wants to try? Why is port 80 such a huge security risk? Or what makes it vulnerable? Why is it a vulnerable service? Come on, let's do this, guys.
Is it because of the multiple countries, Professor, that has
Is
access
it?
to it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
The website also isn't locked.
Say that again.
The website isn't locked in the browser. You can see it doesn't have a lock.
The website isn't logged? What does that mean?
It
You're
means
there.
it means that anyone could really access it, and they could also tamper with the website.
It means that there is no encryption.
Yeah.
It means that the connection is not encrypted. Okay, what is the secure version of port 80? So instead of port 80, which one is secure? Instead of port 80, which one is secure, guys? Let's do this. Come on.
All right, stand by. I remember, but I don't remember, Professor.
Okay.
Port 22.
No, my darling. It is port 443.
That was my
Let's see
second
what you
answer.
think. I was going to tell you that. I
You're
just
gonna
needed to know.
tell me that,
I was
right?
going to tell you that. I said, hold on. It's been so long since I've been using it.
So it is HTTPS, and that is port 443. That is what guarantees that the connection is secure. And if you guys remember vividly too, we talked about quantum resistance cryptography. Like, so what makes these port 443 of it, what makes this encryption technology secure right now is because it's difficult to break, or it will take a lot of resources and years to break, but with quantum computing, it wouldn't take much time anymore. So attackers are harvesting now with the hope to decrypt later. All right, so port 80 is not secure because the connection is not encrypted. Okay. Now, what about port 443? I mean, port 23 rather. Port 23.
I've never heard of port 23, only 80 and 443. So you're teaching me
Okay.
something new.
Okay. Devin, Ahmed, what about port 23, guys? Is port 23 secure or not secure? What is security risk of having port 23 open? Is there a security risk? If so, what is the security risk? Kaelan, Ahmed, Devin, come on, guys, Milton, Michael. Is there a security implication of having, so we saw that about 861,000 devices are available on the internet today with 423 open. Is there a security risk? If so, what is the security risk? Okay. Port 80 is the Telnet port. It is a port for remotely connecting to a device. So the device might be in another location, and you're in a different location. Port 80 is used to remotely connect to that device. And so, port 23 is used to remotely connect. So port 23 happened to be an insecure port, because the connection is also not encrypted.
I was great taking a
Remember,
guess
port
over there.
80 is for web services. Port 23 is for remote connection. But port 23 presents security risks because the connection, both of them present the security risk because the connection is not encrypted. That means eavesdropping is possible. Capturing username and password in clear text is also possible. The secure version of it is port 22. Okay, the secure version of it is port 22. Also, there are so many devices that we can search for. Now, because today we're going to be talking about wireless devices, webcam is also one device that you can search for. Like, this helps to see, okay, there are about 2,400 webcams exposed to the internet, as you can see. So these tells you the webcam that are remotely accessible and people can be anywhere and be seeing what's going on in this person's location or in this person's environment. Sometimes I see people's offices, you see people's rooms, you see people's backyard, and things like that. Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
So to get to port 22, what do we need? The IP address that it operates on? How do we actually start using port 22?
That's a very good question. Port 22 is to use port 22, you need your encryption. So
Oh, okay.
you need your encryption, you need your digital certificate to be able to sign that connection, to ensure that that connection is in fact secure.
And who provides that, Professor? The web
So,
web service provider?
yes, you will generate a key pair. I will actually encourage you to look at our video recording of module 3 and module 4. That's
Okay.
where we talked a lot about encryption, cryptography,
Yeah.
symmetric and asymmetric cryptography, how to
Mhm.
get secure network. But I will share this video that I shared in class with you. And that video will help you. So it is encryption. It is the digital certificate, and it's an IBM video. I shared it with everyone in class. It's this one, public key infrastructure. It tells you how that actually works. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. So you
Okay.
don't have to spend the entire time looking at the 2 hours video we covered in class. You could you watch this after class and get up to speed on how the public key infrastructure and how that encryption works. So
Okay.
port 23 is the insecure version, while port 22 is the secured version. Okay, 22 is the secure version. So we can see these are cameras that are actually accessible over the internet. And when I look at these things, sometimes I see people's offices and all of that. I can only see 2 pages because of my membership. But yeah, that is what Shodan is used for. Shodan is often used for seeing any devices that are publicly facing. So if these are your wireless access points, your Wi-Fi, organization use that to the tool. Sometimes too, it could be databases. So if you say, if you look for something such as port is port 3308, and that's a database port. Okay, this is one camera now that just popped up. But I'm not gonna go through that. This particular camera has all these thousands of ports open. But for this, these are how many? 418 devices or databases that are exposed to the internet. That's a major, major, major risk for the database to be exposed to the internet. All right. If it is operating system too, you could check operating system, you could check any devices. Organizations use this again to check whether their internal applications are exposed to the internet. For example, for the cloud environment, you just need to search for S3. And if you see S3 buckets open, yeah, see, this is a major issue. S3 buckets is a cloud service for storage. And we see that there are so many S3 buckets open. The S3 buckets, the resolver name, you see all the details about that. Yeah. So that being said, I shared that because we didn't really do any lab in class when we did infrastructure security. That's always one that is good to see if any part of the organization infrastructure is exposed or not. Yeah. So today, we will, by the end of this class, we will have described the different types of wireless network attacks. We will talk about the vulnerabilities of the wireless LAN security, and then we'll explain the solution for securing a wireless network. And so my first question to you guys is this, right? Why is wireless network, vulnerable? Why is it so vulnerable? Know that there isn't a network that isn't vulnerable, but why would we consider wireless network, vulnerable? Okay, let me ask this question. Why is it dangerous to connect to public Wi-Fi?
Because of hacking, because of the ability or the vulnerabilities with hacking, it's not encrypted.
Very good. Beautiful. It is dangerous because if it is public, then it probably doesn't have any form of encryption. And attackers can be on that same Wi-Fi as yourself and be monitoring your traffic in order to be able to intercept it or see your traffic as it traverses that network insecurely or in clear text. Okay. So have you ever connected to a Wi-Fi network that looks like the real thing, but it's not real? Has anyone experienced that? Where you connect to the network thinking it's real, but it's not a real network? Okay. I guess no. My final question before we continue. How would you know if someone was eavesdropping on your wireless traffic? So you have your home network or your office network. How would you know if someone was eavesdropping on that network? How would you know?
When I worked for Marriott and I was in their audiovisual and IT department, we
Okay.
had software to detect and to control the traffic and the bandwidth. If someone, if an IP address popped up that was not on our ledger of approved IP addresses, and we saw one pop up, then we would know that we could actually delete that IP address and switch channels within the Marriott with the other audience or the other attendees. So that's the only way I know.
James, when was that?
2006 through 2013.
Okay, that's a long time ago. So you guys maintained a ledger of all the IP addresses.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. And
Wow.
look, it was based on hotel to hotel. So my hotel was the Baltimore Marriott Waterfront, and I was in control of that particular attendee list.
So when you want to assign the IP address, you have to manually assign those IP addresses?
Yes, ma'am, because we had to provide a VPN for each department as well as for each conference. So we had to establish it. Not only did we sell it for $700 per connection, we had to establish it as well.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, well, you guys managed it anyway, but it's not scalable, right? It's not scalable beyond that location.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So the the way to know, they have a way of, the running scans, yes. We're going to talk about ways that organization know whether or not someone is eavesdropping on their network. But when you are on a public Wi-Fi, it's really difficult for you to know without, even when you run a scan, because it's a public Wi-Fi, you don't own it, you wouldn't know. And so one of the things that poses a major risk to wireless network is its inherent nature. Right. So when I leave my house and I'm going on a walk, I would have taken maybe 500 steps or 1,000 steps. But my Wi-Fi is still really strong, right? This tells us that when an organization maintains a wireless network, the physical protection is blurred. So your gates is no longer effective. Your doors, your reception, your receptionist, the security guards, the perimeter security around you becomes really weakened. Except of course you had another extra mechanism, which we'll talk about. But wireless actually blurs the physical safeguards that any organization can have. So attackers really don't need to come into your environment to now have access to your network. They could legit do that by connecting through your Wi-Fi. Or through the organization's Wi-Fi, I should say. So that perimeter security is blurred. Hence the reason why wireless attack is common, or is the entry point is not as difficult. Before we talk about the attacks, there are wireless technologies. And I want to ask, do we know our wireless technology? If we do, when we talk about cellular network, what is the common use of cellular network? What is the common use of cellular network? I want us to move fast and be done as quickly as
Okay.
possible
Would
because
it be mobile?
I think you guys have a simulation to complete today. So go ahead, James.
Mobile technology?
Yes, mobile technology.
Calling.
It's not only mobile, it is calling. Yeah, cellular network for phone calls. Yes. What about, and who are the providers? Examples of providers.
Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T.
Yeah. That's correct. Bluetooth. What about Bluetooth network? What are the common use of Bluetooth network?
It would be to get away from hardwired cords, so that you can connect near field communication technology to connect to Bluetooth earbuds, microphones, TVs, different devices without there being, a cord or connection with an HDMI or USB cable.
Very good. Common use, we use them to connect our phone to our AirPods, speaker phones, mobile wireless devices, right? Wireless
That's it.
mouse to our computers, wireless keyboard to our computers. Everybody knows Bluetooth, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What about NFC, near field communication? James said someone else tried. Sophia, Milton, I want you guys to unmute yourself. What about NFC, near field communication? What's the common use of near field communication? Common use of near field communication.
You could use NFC for like Apple Pay or like
Apple Pay, yeah.
it's just like your phone connecting to like other devices.
Yes. Apple Pay or your tap to pay. You use your credit card to make
Or you can
payment. You
transfer
tap.
photos from one phone to the next, transfer data from one phone to the next.
You could do that, but the common use for near field communication specifically, the most common use is to use it for payment.
Yep.
Okay? To use it for payment. That's the most common use for near field communication. What about radio RFIDs, radio frequency identification? What's the common use? What's the common use for RFIDs? Identification, it's used for inventory. And you go to store, you have RFID tags on the wares at the stores. Yeah, it's used for inventory for the most part. Then we have the wireless local area network. The wireless local area network is what's the common use for wireless local area network? Your internet connection, your devices connecting to the internet. That is the use for wireless local area network. Now, here's my question with respect to wireless technology. What technology how many people have iPhone in this class? I'm sure almost everybody has an iPhone. Who does not have an iPhone? Yeah, I'm the only person who does not have the iPhone in this class. But yes, my question to you is, what technology does iPhone use for hair drop? You all do hair dropping all the time. Do you know what technology the iPhone uses? Give me a moment, please. Okay. Uh, nobody. AirDrop. What technology does AirDrop use? Okay. Is it Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or both? Use your chat or mute yourself. Is it Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or both? Come on, guys. You all use iPhone. Both. Kaylan says both. How?
Could you repeat your question again?
Which technology does AirDrop use?
Oh, NFC.
Nope. AirDrop. AirDrop. I didn't say iPhone. You AirDrop videos, you AirDrop. James, you were saying
NFC.
NFC for payment. I'm
Bluetooth.
saying airport,
Oh,
AirDrop,
Bluetooth, yeah.
Bluetooth,
But
and what? Is it just Bluetooth?
no, you can use Wi-Fi as well. But I'm also, Professor, I think I'm concerned about the NFC because before they actually really I want to say perfected the payment usage of the NFC, you were able to tap phones together to transfer music and pictures and your identification, your contact with the NFC. Also, people have had their, identity stolen, like in Walmart, and their bank cards stolen because of the NFC. That's why I keep mine turned off.
Yes. It's not perfect. It's still unencrypted. It's just that you have to be close enough, at least right around 2 to 4 centimeter, close enough.
Okay.
Um, to be able to, yeah, you have to be really close. Okay. So
Okay.
AirDrop technology, and we will talk about all the pros and cons of each one of them. AirDrop actually uses both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Okay, it uses both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. It's used Bluetooth for connection, and then it uses Wi-Fi for sending. It uses one for connecting and the other for sending. All right, so everybody knows what your your cellular network is. We have the faster 5G one now. They are mainly the responsibility of the technology service provider. They own, they maintain, and manage their own network. They have those masts and data centers located in your area. Unfortunately, some of them, they have stronger service in certain location than the other. Like mine, I use Verizon for my mobile, and whew, it's terrible. Um, then you also have Bluetooth as well. So the Bluetooth technology is short ranged, and it uses the radio frequency for transmission and for communication over a short period. Everybody knows that. But the Bluetooth network, when you have a network of Bluetooth devices, is called a Piconet. Um, and as you would imagine, a lot of times you will have your Bluetooth devices connected to your device, your main device, maybe your mobile phone connected to multiple Bluetooth devices. And so the device that is sending or that is controlling the traffic is the leader. In the Bluetooth network, we have the leaders and the followers. And so the leader, in most cases, is the sender that is controlling, which is your mobile phone for the most part. And then you have the followers. The followers can either be active or passive, or is also called parked. The active followers are the ones that are actually sending transmitting at the moment. So you can have your phone initially connected to maybe your Bluetooth device, your headphone, and then you get into your car and your phone now connects to your car. And now, so the sound is now being produced out of your car, right? So your headphone becomes a packed follower, while the car becomes the active follower. All right. So this is what a Piconet looks like. There are attack types related to Bluetooth. The first one is called bluejacking. Bluejacking is simply sending unsolicited, it's like spamming. Someone sends you unsolicited sound, unsolicited images, or text messages via Bluetooth. That is called bluejacking. Right? Then we have blue snuffing. Bluejacking is considered more annoying than dangerous, really, because no data is stolen. It's just someone sending you, spamming you over your Bluetooth. The other one is blue snuffing. Blue snuffing is more dangerous. Through blue snuffing, you can copy someone's email, copy their contact, copy their pictures. It used to be a major issue. I think back in the early 2000s, 2006, 7, 8, 9. In fact, back early 2000s when I was in the university, I will connect to my friends. We're all studying computer science, and so we'll play with different things. And I was playing with this app that lets me connect to my friend's phone, and I was seeing her pictures, and I was seeing her what's it called? Our text messages back then. So yeah, that's blue snuffing attack. Okay. Then we have NFC. So NFC is a set of standard for communication, for communicating between devices, but it had to be really, really close. A lot of people don't know that their NFC on their device is always on, so they could even turn it on. So a lot of us, if you don't know yet, or your NFC is always on, it's not a good thing. So your NFC, if you're not using it, you need to turn it off. Because it can transfer payment information without you knowing. All right, so but the proximity needs to be at least 4 centimeters. And the reason why the communication is not encrypted is because encryption requires, like you guys know, encryption requires power. How much compute power does your card have? Your card has no compute power. Right? So, and encryption can slow things down. And so it defeats the essence of wanting to tap and go, right? So that's why the communication between NFC devices is still not encrypted because of resource constraints and the need for speed. Okay. NFC devices can also be active or passive. The passive NFC device contains information that the other device can read, but does not receive the information. For example, your card. The active one is the one that reads the information. That is the device, the POS device, okay? The point of sale device. Right? What are some of the attack types that can happen as a result of NFC connection? Not just NFC connection too, but unencrypted connection. It's eavesdropping. Eavesdropping is being able to listen and intercept traffic and view traffic, intercept and view traffic as they traverse the network. And this can be possible for any wireless network. Data theft is also possible for wireless network. Then you have man-in-the-middle attack. Now, the traffic is not only being eavesdropped, but then it's being manipulated. Between two people that are conversing now, there is manipulation happening. All right, that's man-in-the-middle attack. So a man is in the middle of the communication. Then you have device theft, theft of phones, theft of your iPad, of mobile devices. These can allow for someone to purchase something using your phone or expose your data, the data that you have on that phone. Then we have RFIDs. RFIDs are commonly used for badges, for inventory tags, book labels, or other paper-based tags that can be detected by proximity reader. So libraries, stores, they will use RFID. RFID devices are often passive because they don't have any power of their own and they do not require power supply, right? They don't require power supply. They are susceptible, however, to attacks such as unauthorized tag access, fake tags, eavesdropping, or what is called RFID cloning. Okay? Then with wireless network, everybody knows by now that the devices that makes up your wireless network is your wireless access point. Okay, very important. Wireless local area network is is different from the regular wired network where you have a switch and there's a cable running from your switch to your laptop or to your PC. No, in this case, the cable that is coming from the switch is running to an access point, and that access point is extending the network through radio frequency. All right. And so we're able to connect wirelessly to that access point. Why? Because your device has a wireless card. Okay. Your device has a wireless LAN card. This phone has its own wireless LAN card. Your PCs, your over here in my office, all of my kids have their PCs here. So I didn't allow them to use laptops. So they all have a PC. And so we are here always here in the office together, and there's no moving around laptops. I don't encourage that here. So in the office, their laptops, I mean their PCs are actually wired, right? Is wired to the access point, right? It's different from my phone or tab that is wireless. Okay, so their PC cannot connect wirelessly. Why? Because it does not have a wireless LAN card. If we wanted to connect wirelessly, then we need to install a wireless LAN card. And I was like, no, I'm not buying a wireless LAN card. I'm buying a $5 cable and we're laying that cable. But yeah, that is what makes up a wireless network is different from the wired. So the cable is coming from the switch to where? The access point, and the access point provides the wireless connection. Okay. For management, for ease of management, because As the organization grows, the access, you now start to have multiple access points. You might want to change the network name of the wireless or create new SSID, right? You need to be able to do, you don't have to log into each switch to do that. You need to be able to manage that. And the device that is used for that is called the wireless LAN controller. All right. I'll talk a little bit more about wireless. There are different versions of Wi-Fi. And so, like I said, the access point is necessary. Okay, it acts as the base station of the wireless. Your own device, the mobile device that is attempting to connect, will have its own client, excuse me, wireless adapter or wireless network card, right? And they function just as the wired card. It's just that they are receiving and sending the point acts at the bridge between wireless and wired networks. For example, you have the laptops and the smartphones here. You have the wired network, cables connecting, AP is extending that signal. Okay. All right. Then, like I said, you have the wireless controllers is dedicated to controlling access points. You may have hundreds or multiple access points on the same network, and it is the controller that you use for managing those. Now, there are different kinds of access points. We have the autonomous access point. The autonomous access point, you know the word autonomous means by itself. So the autonomous access points can provide their own authentication, their own encryption, and all wireless features are available on these access points. They are called FAT APs too, autonomous or FAT APs. Then we have some that are thin APs. These ones, they do not manage their own configurations themselves. They rely on the wireless LAN controller to manage all of their affairs. And those are called the thin access points or thin APs. Okay, the thin APs. Right? Then, if you've gone to Marriott's before or any other hotel, you might have experienced you attempting to connect to the internet and you see a captive portal, or you go to the college and you want to connect to PGCC guest or PGCC here. You see a captive portal and it asks you to provide your email address. That is very simple. For other organizations, the authentication is more, or the registration is stricter than that. The registration can be, for example, when I was doing this for the bank, you will have to fill that captive portal to say to list the name of the person you are visiting, the reason for your visit, how long you're visiting for. Then you click on register, and that registration form goes to both the person you are coming to visit as well as the network security admin. The network security admin confirms with the person that you are visiting, and then they allow access for the period of time that you will be there. That is captive portal. It's called, what it does is it monitors for HTTP traffic on that access point, and it looks, this device is not authenticated to this network, is not on this domain, and captures that traffic just the way a Wireshark will capture, but this one is more active. Capture that traffic and redirect that traffic to that page. All right, so it keeps showing up that page until you go through that authentication process. This is an example of a wireless LAN controller controlled by access point. I'll take a pause. What are your questions? Questions. Okay, so for some of us that may not have seen what an access point looks like, I think there should be an image here. Maybe not to see access point, right? You may just have been passing by it and not know that this is what an access point is. These are access points. They are, you see, this is a Cisco access point. A lot of times they are installed in places that is either hidden away totally from plain sight or really attract attention if someone attempts to tamper with them. If you go to most of the classes or the always, I think it's the classes on campus, you'll see those access points in the room at the rooftop or at the ceiling. Yeah. So that someone attempts to reach them, they attract attention. Right? So, within an enterprise network, like I said, the boundary is defined by its edges, but that edge is blurred because of access point. And some of the enterprise types of attacks that can happen is rogue access point. What does a rogue access point mean? Someone inside the organization, like an employee or an attacker finds their way in to the network and disconnects their own port and connect that port to an access point. The most common one that we saw during my time being a security operations center lead is we'll see employees disconnect their own PC because they brought their laptop to work or their mobile phone to work and they need internet access. They disconnect their own PC, connect it to their own rogue access point that they brought from home, and use then connect their PC, their mobile phone, their iPad wirelessly to that access point. They use that access point to extend the organization's network. And that's why remember that during the last class, we talked about network access control solution. Talked about Cisco, ICE, Forescout. That's why the network access control solutions are really, really important. Okay. Then that's rogue access point. You see that happen with insider most often than not. Or it could happen with someone that who's probably walking towards the door of the organization at lunchtime with about 20 boxes of pizza. And, Milton just feels like, okay, Milton is a gentleman or a gentle lady and holds the door open for them to come in so they don't have to badge into so they tailgate, right? They go to the kitchen, drop the boxes, pick one of the boxes that has their laptop and their access point, find themselves a secure or a place connects the access point to the network. And they could even leave. Immediately they connected because guess what? The wireless access points, they don't have to be within the premise to be able to access that network anymore. Okay? Then you also have an attack called evil twin. Everybody knows who a twin is. Set of twin. They are born, they look alike. That's what makes a twin a twin. Like they look alike. I'm talking about, just let's make it seem like it's the twins that look alike. I know there are some that don't look alike, but yeah, twins that are identical twins. So the evil twin is a situation where an attacker brings in their own internet or their own wireless network and is using the same SSID, which is the same network name as a legitimate network. So you go to Starbucks, all right? Eve is already in Starbucks. Eve also has set up her own network in Starbucks and called it Starbucks Guest. Starbucks original guests also, Starbucks also have their own network called Starbucks Guest. So now there are two of them. One is the real and the other is the evil twin. Okay, so the evil twin is the attacker's network, and obviously they will ensure that there is no encryption. So if you attempt to use their internet or their public Wi-Fi or the evil twin, and this happens a lot with financial service institution. You go to B of A, it seems like B of A has free Wi-Fi, but it's someone somewhere who has set up.
Yep, I'm logging in from the laptop, Professor. Thank you. I'm gonna log off my phone.
Okay.
All right.
So someone somewhere is has created a replica of Bank of A or whatever, and people are trying to transact on that. Is sniffing their traffic and capturing the login password and everything as they connect to the network. Okay. There's also intercepting data where an attacker can power of signal hoping misconfigure point. Denial of service is also a thing. It's not all the time that confidentiality and integrity is the focus. Sometimes it's just denial of service. Okay. So with denial of service attack, you have RF jamming, radio frequency jamming. And this radio frequency jamming is where an attacker intentionally interferes with the radio frequency of the organization. So when the attacker uses intentional RF interference to flood the radio frequency spectrum with enough interference to prevent a device from communicating with the access point, that is RF jamming. All right, you will see that a lot of organizations, especially military-based organization, they use RF jamming legitimately too, to ensure that wireless network does not to ensure that they interfere with any form of wireless network or mobile devices. Some people, when they get to work, their phone doesn't work, or you cannot reach them anymore. It's because their workplace is using RF jamming for the whole legitimate purpose of securing their radio frequency or their airwaves. Okay. Then we also have dissociation attack. So when a device, you see, when your Wi-Fi is on and your Wi-Fi feature on your device is on, and you're attempting to connect to the access point, what your device is doing is to send out an association or authentication frame. All right, it's sending out an association or authentication frame. All right, so that it can connect to the access point. Now, this dissociation attack occurs when an attacker creates a false the authentication. So when you want to authenticate, your device sends authentication frame. When you want to disconnect, it sends a dissociation or the authentication frame. So if clones or pretends to be Bob and keeps sending dissociation frame on behalf of Bob, every attempt of Bob to connect to the wireless network will be futile because the access point is receiving dissociation frame instead of association frame. Okay? Right. Then there are wireless consumer attacks as well. So most of our home, we still use default configuration. We don't change the Wi-Fi configuration. And a lot of OEMs sometimes when they ship these devices, the configuration of their uh, devices is available on the internet. All right. So if you look online and you Google something such as default password list, you will see a lot of default password list. Let me see. There's this particular site that you see default router password list. This is an example of such site. You see default router password list, 3Com, admin, Digicom, admin Macangelo. I'm sure of them are wiser now, but they have actually shipped this Linksys. These were their default router password list. Majority of us don't make any changes to these password list, and if you see 3M, and attackers can leverage that to connect to your network, steal data, read wireless transmission, inject malware, or even download harmful content to your organization or to your home network. Okay. All right. Question. Muchanita, what a name, is investigating a security incident in which the smartphone of the CEO was compromised and confidential data was stolen. All right. Is this blue snuffing or blue jacking or blue hiking or blue swiping? Which one? Should expect that this would be related to which example this being blue hiking. No one is answering? Very good. Blue snuffing. We said blue jacking is spam. Blue jacking is spam. Blue snuffing is the correct answer. What are your questions before we start to talk about the wireless encryption technologies? Questions? Okay. I'm assuming that there are no questions.
Nope. Just want to get into this firewall lesson right here, Professor. This is my favorite right here.
Say that again.
I said I'm ready to get into that firewall lesson. This is my favorite lesson right here. The IEE,
The what?
the wired, the WEP, the firewall,
The
web,
web.
yes, web encrypted transmission.
Yes. So now we're diving but now we're getting into the technologies, what makes this, how do we determine whether a wireless network is secure or it is insecure? What makes a wireless network secure, right? So when this technology started, a lot of times, the innovation is often about, let's do the next big thing, let's do the next, create the next big technology. And then whether it is really secure or not becomes an afterthought. Or even if security is embedded, a lot of times security is a journey, right? It's not once and done. As we attempt to innovate, the attackers are also attempting to find a way to break the network. Let me understand for a moment. All right, so. Okay. So they're also attempting to break in. So we'll see as we innovate and we see flaws, we create another new technology, and it's just a journey. So wireless equivalent privacy it was one IEEE 802.11 security protocol that provided encryption. So the way it worked was that you will need a secret key, and that secret key will be shared by the wireless client and the access point. But then the wireless equivalent privacy had vulnerability, and the vulnerability was because it could only use 68-bit or 128-bit number to encrypt. And so because of that, it was vulnerable. So, and when it comes to cryptography, one cardinal point when it comes to cryptography is avoid a detectable pattern. Make sure that statistical analysis is defeated. So WEP didn't provide that. Hence, we had Wi-Fi protected setup. You see that button on your modem. So many modems have that Wi-Fi protected setup. And it has two common methods. It has a pin method, and that pin method utilizes a pin that is printed on a sticker on your wireless router or displayed through the software wizard, or a push button method where the user pushes the button and the security configuration takes place. It also had its design flaw. What was the design flaw? There is no local limit to entering the pins. So you could try a couple of pins. And then the last pin character is only a checksum, and the wireless router reports the validity of the first and the second half of the pins separately. Okay. So then we move to WPA, or before I talk about WPA, let's talk about MAC address filtering. It's similar to what James and Tim were doing, right? Had to maintain a ledger of all IP addresses. And so this is also something like that. It's like you are allowing and disallowing MAC addresses. So each one of the wireless card, they have a MAC address. And so the MAC address is MAC address filtering is permitting or blocking MAC addresses. And that, can be vulnerable to MAC address spoofing, right? So an attacker pretends to be another device and they are spoofing the MAC address of a legitimate device. That is a problem. And then managing a large number of addresses is challenging. It's not scalable. It's like manually typing the MAC addresses and say allow and block, okay, which is really not scalable. Then we had Wi-Fi, WPA. WPA was introduced by Wi-Fi Alliance, and there are two modes, the personal and the enterprise. WPA provided encryption and authentication. All right. So, however, WPA as well became vulnerable. The authentication for WPA was also accomplished by pre-shared keys. So a secret value is manually entered on both the access point and the wireless device, and then the devices have the secret key that is automatically used to authenticate by the access point. Okay, so WPA as well became less secure because the encryption was weak. Then we moved from WPA to WPA2. Consider that WPS, WEP, WPA are insecure mechanism or insecure access wireless access control protocols. Okay. Question here. Which of these vulnerability of MAC address filtering, which of these is a vulnerability of MAC address filtering in wireless LAN? Which of this? Is it not all operating systems support MACs? Access points use IP address instead of MACs, or the user must enter the MAC, or the MAC addresses are initially exchanged unencrypted? A, B, C, D. The initial, when the connection starts, there's an initial exchange. And so because of that initial exchange, there's an exposure of the MAC address, and an attacker can spoof that MAC address and pretend to be that MAC address. Now, moving to the more secure protocols. You have the WPA2, and WPA2 is based on IEEE 802.11i. Also operates in two methods, but it has two major security features that it provides. That's encryption and authentication. Encryption and authentication. Now, there are some acronyms here that you will come across. What is most important here is for you to know that WPA2 provides two major security, and that is encryption and authentication. Now, this talks about the encryption protocols that WPA2 uses. It's a mouthful. CCNP, that is counter mode with cipher block chaining message authentication code protocol. Okay. And the CCM uses AES. So it works with AES. Then you also have the CCM MAC, the CBC MAC, and this is the CCM. This is what helps the CCNP provides data integrity as well as authentication. Okay. Authentication with WPA2 at the enterprise level uses something that is called .1hex or 802.1 hex standard. And that standard is what the Cisco HIACE protocol, the Cisco HIACE network access control solution is based on. You have the supplicant, the authenticator, and the authenticating device. The supplicant is often an agent that is installed on the laptop of the user that wants to connect. The authenticator is often the radio server, and then the authenticating device is the switch that the user or the access point that the user is connected to. Okay? So TLDR, I said TLDR. What TLDR is a common terminology in the software as a service world. Long story short. So, long story short, .1hex is used on WPA2 at the enterprise level to provide authentication. Okay. Then, yeah, this is the process. It's not showing up here, but I can show you. So, for example, you have a supplicant. The supplicant is the user that is trying to authenticate, right? You have the authenticator, that's the switch. The authentication server can be the Radius server or Active Directory. Okay, so this is the one that will ask the directory of all legitimate user. And so the supplicant has agents, and so it's attempting to connect connect during this very minimal granted access. So in between the authentication and the authentication server, the decision is made as to whether or not the supplicant or the laptop or mobile phone should be granted access. Okay. Then there's also the transport authentication protocol, extensible authentication protocol. This is a framework transporting authentication protocol. So there is the authentication protocol itself, but how does the authentication protocol move around, all right, from source to destination? The IP defines the message format and uses 4 types of packets. So there is the request, the response, the success, and the failure. Those are the 4 packets that are used to communicate the state of the extensible authentication protocol. There is another common one, which is a simplified one that was created by Microsoft Windows, or that is used in Microsoft Windows, as you say. It is the protected EAP, the protected extensible authentication protocol, and it creates an encrypted channel between the client and the authentication server. All right. These are also the the transport layer security that is used with that is used with the IP. So you remember the IP is for transporting the authentication communication, but then you need to secure it. So you have IP TLS, which uses the digital certificate for authentication. Then you have IP transport TLS. These create a tunnel between the client and the endpoint and the authenticator. Okay, Then you have HEAP TLS, HEAP TTLS, and HEAP FAST. Okay, so these what I need for you to really take away from here is WPA2 provides authentication, it provides integrity, it provides encryption. And then we have WPA3, which is more so the next generation of WPA. And so this is much more secure than WPA2. Okay. It includes what is called simultaneous authentication for equals, which is designed to increase security at the same time of the handshake when keys are being exchanged. Okay. And it has also improved security on IoT devices as well. When it comes to wireless network, there are some things that we also need to consider. It is the topology, it is the location, it is the building, it is the coverage. For example, when I switched from T-Mobile to Verizon, right? It was just one day I was in my basement and my T-Mobile was not working. We just moved to this place. And my friend was like, why don't you try Verizon? We use Verizon and the network is strong. And I just went with what she said just because we live in the same area, right? Only to realize that even though the network area is where I live, right? So it's good to check, do adequate wireless coverage check, make sure that employees have reasonable amount of bandwidth, and minimize the bleed outside the wall of the building. So the site selection is very important. The site survey is very important. Placement of the access points also is very important, so that a situation where you don't want to have blind spot. So you have a building that has maybe 20, 30 floors, and the organization is occupying all the floors. You don't want a situation where there is blind spot. So there needs to be overlap for signal strength, right? For adequate wireless LAN coverage. And then the spectrum that the access points are communicating on too. Because sometimes if you change the spectrum or the band, the frequency band, you might find out that there are less users on certain frequency bands than the other. So some access point provide that ability to adjust your frequency spectrum settings. You select the band, you select the channel, and then you select the channel width as well. Okay. And of course, the antenna placement, very important. It should be located near the center. Oh, and there are different kinds of antenna too. The choice of antenna is also key in situations where antennas are being used, right? You have the omnidirectional antennas, which send signal 360. You have Yagi antenna. You have some bidirectional antennas. So selecting the right kind of antennas for the organization and locating them strategically is important. All right, at access points, of course, high in the wall or high in the ceiling to discourage or detach obstruction, signal obstruction, and theft. And if possible, the access point and the antenna should be positioned so that a minimal amount of signal leaves or reaches beyond the security perimeter of the building. Okay, how do we detect rogue access points though? There are 4 types of probes. You probe, right? You probe to detect rogue access point. I remember back then, as a SOC analyst, I will go I was tagged with, one of my responsibilities was doing ward driving. So I will go all the way from the first floor to 27th floor of the building, floor by floor, probing for wireless network that does not belong to the organization. So there's a tool that I was using back then. I'm sure the tool still exists. It was Kismet. Let me see if it still exists. So I would use Kismet and I'll go from one floor to the other. Yeah. So yes, it's this one. I will go from one floor to the other, and then I will use it to probe for any wireless network that does not belong to the organization. All right. So you have wireless device probe, you have desktop probe, you have access point probe, you have dedicated probe. And so these help. So for example, on the switch, if someone has introduced a wireless access point, the easiest way to know is you will see on the switch that there are multiple MAC addresses on the same switch port. How is that? Right? You have a 48 port switch, but on port FA0 G10, all right? On port G10 or FA0/10, you are seeing 4 MAC addresses, right? It means that there are 4 devices. And so it means that something has happened. An access point is in between, or a hub or something is in between that has extended that network, right? So that's one way to detect. You see multiple MAC address on a single switch port. And that's the work of network access control to say, shut them down, right? I remember back in those days when I used to deploy those NAC tools, which were serious things. We don't block them, and one of the things you do when you go out there is you do technical sales. And so when I do technical sales and I do proof of value or POCs, right? As you say, just let me connect the device to your network, and the solution just speaks for itself. By the time I show the use case, you see, look at the switch port, look at the numbers of MAC addresses on this switch port. And by that time, we already integrated the device, the NAC device into the switch port. See the number of IP addresses on this switch port. Should this switch port have 4 or 5 IP addresses? And then they go there and then they see that one employee has disconnected their PC and connected a rogue access point. And that was happening for so many banks, for so many employees within, even at the branch level. And so, yeah, that's a way to identify rogue access points. Or you just go around looking around and seeing if you find any rogue access point on the network. Okay. Questions? Okay, let's answer this question. Adiza is explaining HIP to a new hire. HIP to a new hire. Then what would be the best explanation for HIP? It is a transport authentication protocol. It's a framework for transporting authentication protocol. Guys, what are your questions? What are your questions? Your questions.
I wouldn't say I have any questions, Professor. It's just a lot, to take in, and a lot of stuff has changed since me being in this field. So I'm just a sponge right now.
Right, I know, as we should be. It's one vertical where, or it's one area where there's a lot of change, or
Yes.
there have been a lot of changes, and you just need to just keep up, keep up, keep up, keep up. And
Okay.
sometimes I wish I was a medical doctor.
You sound like one.
But
But
yeah,
God.
yeah, it's a lot to keep up with. However, yes, it is curiosity at the end of the day. I think one of the main innate characteristics that anyone needs to be successful in the field is just be curious. You hear this buzzword, you hear that, just be curious. Like I remember in the beginning of my career, and someone would be talking and presenting, and I'm on my laptop or my computer, I'm hearing that word and I'm Googling it. Okay, I'm Googling it. Like I'm the Google of the room.
Yes. That's what I was doing on my phone.
Like, wait, yeah, because that's just the way to you need to, especially now with AI.
Yes.
It provides us with a lot of opportunities, but then also there's the challenge that comes with it as well. So hey,
Okay.
I know, I understand. And with this 1 month course, it's like drinking from a fire hose. But please go back to those recordings. That's why they are
Yeah.
there. You go on Module,
Yes,
on
ma'am.
Canvas, Panapto, they're there.
Yes,
All
that's what
right.
I'm doing. Yes,
Any
ma'am.
other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, I will see you guys here on Wednesday. We'll talk a lot about cloud and virtualization.